People who have ordered a bar safe word drink to get out of a bad situation. What was your date like and how did the staff help? I had to use it when on a date off Tinder. We met up and he had already got me a drink, just sat there, shot of something clear and then said to me that I should do it and then he would take me somewhere better for more fun. I wasn't comfortable so excused myself to the bathroom and saw a poster that said ask for Angela if you feel uncomfortable. Went to the bar and asked for Angela and immediately this guy was playing along saying, oh yeah, she's working in the kitchen tonight. He got me a taxi, walked me out the back door and into the taxi and made sure I got there without any hassles. Never saw that guy again. I went out on my own one night and was having a few drinks at a local pub. I had just moved to the area so I didn't really know anyone. A guy sat next to me and was chatting. At first, it was just casual, but he eventually became really tipsy/handsy. Then the guy actually kissed me, just out of the blue. I told him I was not okay with it. He said I was leading him on, which was not the case at all. He got angry and stormed off to the washroom. I was feeling really uncomfortable and unsafe. I didn't know my neighborhood yet. The bartender saw that I was feeling off right away. He didn't even know me, but he could tell. He asked if I wanted to be shown out of the back door and if they could put me in a cab back home so I could go without the guy following me. They even paid and apologized that I felt unsafe in their bar. I was totally blown away. I would totally go back there and feel completely taken care of. This is a relatively new thing, but us girls have been doing this form for a long time. Back when I was a bartender, I noticed a girl stumble in the pool table. She was crying and clearly very intoxicated. I went over to ask if she was okay, and some guy I hadn't seen with her all night jumps up and says, I'm her boyfriend, I've got her. No, the F you do not. We got her to calm down and give us her phone to call her roommate so someone safe could take her home. It sucks that it's necessary, but I'll always love my boss from the bar because he threw that creep out physically. We saw her again. She didn't have a boyfriend or remember that night. Working as a bartender and bouncer for the past couple of years, I usually just try to watch for body language of people that are in the bar. If it looks like someone needed a quick escape, I'll approach, pretend I'm an old friend that hasn't seen them in a while. If they actually don't need help, I can excuse myself by saying they look like a friend. Either that or I'll try to position myself behind the questionable party and give the thumbs up and cocked eyebrow as a sort of you good. I had a creep corner me in a bar once and tried to stroke my tie. One dude I've never met came up to me and said, hey sis, I've been looking for you all over. And he put his arm around me and walked me out. Thank you so much, stranger. Semi-related, but I was out at the pub on campus for a show and had been there previously in a day celebrating our last exam with some friends. Some guy who was sitting at a table next to us and trying to chat us up earlier was still there with his buddies and was drunker and braver, and of course he got me alone when my friends went to the bathroom. He wouldn't stop talking to me and getting in my face and yelling about himself, and when I excused myself to go to the bar, literally it was like, okay, bye. He followed me to the bar, ordered the same thing as I did, offered to pay. I said I was good and he did not. Stop talking. And I must have looked mad because the bartender walked over and went, hey, you were here earlier night, right? Buddy, give us a second, I need to speak with her about her tab. The guy leaves and the bartender tells me I look distressed and asked if everything was okay. I told him I was fine, that this guy was in my personal space and not leaving. So he said, he doesn't stop, I should come back and order a whiskey lemon and security would be notified. And he would walk me back to my car if I needed it. We ended up moving tables. I think he got too drunk to stand up and left not too long after that. But I was so relieved to know that the bartender was watching out. I'm not one for confrontation and it just feels so much safer to be able to duck out with someone having my back. I'm going to ask at work tomorrow if we can install a safe word drink policy at the bar. That would be such a great idea. This is a close but not quite situation, but it may get attention due to the lack of legit responses. A guy I was with was super adamant about me keeping up with him, slamming drinks. He would drag me to the bar and order for me, then egg me on to drink faster, etc. I did not want to be drunk with him. He ordered me a vodka soda and I maintained that I slightly pained look on my face, hoping to catch the bartender's attention. When he looked at me, I widened my eyes and just a little suddenly shook my head no. I watched him as he poured me a drink by faking the vodka pour and just filling me with what I presumed was soda water. Not normally drinking my drink of choice, so I wasn't sure what it was. Kind of looked like a stale Sprite, and he garnished it with lime and everything. Sad. Cheers, and when he handed us our drinks, this continued for a while until drunky Mike Squishy Pants wanted to leave. The bartender said to me, "Oh, you have asked me about Megan, right?" "Yeah, she's in the back. Go ahead," while he closes out. I sort of hovered by the washrooms, which were tucked away, watched the bartender BS with a dude for a while, and he eventually left looking all annoyed. When the coast was clear, I came and said thank you, and he said anytime happens more than we care to admit. So I thought it was pretty cool that the bartenders were aware enough to pick up on the little signs and help a sister out. I guess during the conversation, he basically convinced the dude that I didn't seem into it, and he thought he saw me leave already. Drunk dude was drunk, so I thought he brought it further without intervention necessary. This isn't exactly a bar story, but a bus story with a bartender. It happened back when I was in uni. I had to rush back home for a family emergency, and the cheapest and fastest option was Greyhound, but the bus departed at midnight. It was 4.5 hours drive from point A to point B downtown. Anyways, I sat alone. The bus wasn't full. I fell asleep about an hour into the ride and woke up to a man in the seat next to me with his arms around my waist and head on my shoulder. I was creeped out, but also afraid to make a scene in the middle of the night, where I thought the only driver was awake at this time. I asked him what he was doing and get off me. I was in the window seat and felt trapped and frozen. He tried to make small talk with me, saying I looked cold and needed a warm, hard body. He said when he arrived that we should grab coffee, and he sensed a vibe between us. I kept recoiling, and I remember telling him that I felt very uncomfortable and that he should go back to his seat. In response to my request, he did not before I get something, and he tried to kiss me. I pulled back so hard that I hit my head against the window. To make a long story short, sorry for the guy, novel, a woman, a complete stranger, a few seats behind me, comes along and says, "Oh my god, I thought it was you I saw boarding the bus. We've got some catching up to do, girl." She said, "Excuse me, do you mind?" really loudly to the creep, and the bastard got up and went back to his seat. She hugged me and asked if I was okay, and she'd sit with me until we arrived at our shop. I was so glad because I thought he would have followed me when we got off the bus. She told me she worked at a bar and is used to intervening when she senses something isn't quite right. I couldn't have thanked her enough. 8 years later, that woman is now one of my best friends. My bar didn't have a safe word drink, but my favorite bartender swooped in more than once and looked after me, even at times when I didn't ask him to yet. I remember one particular time when I came in with my roommate. She and I were sitting at the bar with our drinks, while a couple guys were sitting on the next two stools. They bought us drinks, so we did the usual polite thing, said thanks and introduced ourselves, etc. Within 5 or 10 minutes of starting the conversation, they informed us that they were heading to an after party at their house and a bunch of people would be there. We should come with them. My roommate and I gave each other a "yeah, right" look and said thank you, but no. Well, they wouldn't take no for an answer. They just kept right on trying to convince us how to leave and get in a car with two strange men to go to a house we'd never been to and then trust that it was safe. After a little while, my bartender came over to us. He didn't say anything to me or the guys, not a single word. Instead, he leaned onto the bar across from us and started to grin. I smiled back and so did my roommate, and the three of us just kept looking at each other and smiling silently. The guy talking at us slowly got quieter and then stopped talking at all. Then he and his friend walked away. As soon as they left, the bartender straight up went back to work. I have a lot of respect for anyone intuitive enough to pick up signals that something is wrong and confident enough to resolve a potential conflict with so little effort. I've experienced a bartender hero before. Out with a friend in DC. Guy comes up, stands way too close, introduces himself, and shakes my hand way too hard and way too long. I had to actually pull my hand away and he keeps the grip. I politely told him I was visiting a friend I hadn't seen in a while and wanted to spend time with her, and turned my back. He kept standing there trying to talk to me. I again, but more firmly, told him I wasn't interested. He stayed. He orders another drink and the bartender serves him, all the way at the other end of the bar. She showed him his drink and said it will be over here, and walked it as far away from us as he could. I thought it was brilliant. He got a very good tip from us. I don't know about the safe word drinks, but once in my early 20s, I went on a date with a guy who I didn't know well, but seemed fairly normal. About 2 drinks in, he starts dropping some real creep vibes. That he loves how young I look, and at one point literally said, "You look barely old enough to have your period." Yikes. I make eye contact with the bartender behind me and mouth help. She came right over and asked if I had been in recently because there's a scarf in Lost and Found that might belong to me. I walk with her to an employee room and explain the situation. She waited with me while the bouncer bounced me. Later that night, the bouncer walked me to my car. Not exactly what you asked for, but dealing with a major creep. I was at a bar alone and it was late, and this guy wouldn't leave me alone. The bartender swooped in and said he was my husband. I was there waiting for him to get off work. He grabbed me all my stuff and brought me to the other side of the bar, and the other bartender got the guy out and they had me wait for a while after he left when they got me an Uber home to be safe. 3 years later, the bartender who pretended to be my husband is my actual husband. Ordered a Manhattan. The bartender told me I had to call at the phone at the end of the bar, and looked around for a phone but couldn't find one. He then asked me if I need a cab and I can wait out back for it to arrive. I had no idea what was going on, and after a few exchanges of quizzical looks, he explained to me that Manhattan is a safe drink. I just wanted a Manhattan. He said I was the first person in years to have ordered one at the bar.